Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our special meeting, Board of Commissioners, City of Bowling Green, Kentucky, 13 September 2022 at 4 p.m. I'm Mayor Alcott of the City of Bowling Green. I don't need to do that, do I? All right, let's do roll call, please.
Commissioner Beasley Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Hill.
Here.
Commissioner Perigin.
Here.
Commissioner Bailey, who is absent. Mayor Alcott.
Here. We're going to commence with the meeting this afternoon, and because this is a special meeting, we're going to start with ordinance number BG 2022-47. So our first reading is non-binding.
Ordinance related to WKU Gateway to Downtown Bowling Green at TIF Development Area and Parking Garage. Ordinance approving amended and restated general obligation lease agreement with Warren County Downtown Economic Development Authority, Inc., and approving a mutual release and settlement agreement with Manhattan Capital BG LLC.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Perigin, second by Commissioner Beasley Brown. Mr. Meisel.
There it goes. So Friday, the county fiscal court met, as you know, and made some changes to our Stadium Park Plaza arrangement. We have they have decided to discontinue the relationship with the Manhattan Capital due to a lot of different factors with COVID and the restaurant and retail business taking a huge hit, but we are excited about new transition getting ready to happen with some local developers. And so what we're here today to do is to follow up with some cleanup items on the city side with what the county decided on Friday. And we've asked Scott Backert, he's the attorney for Warren County Downtown Economic Development Authority, to be here with us today. We also had Gil Johnson lined up. He was the county's bond counsel, but he was ill and sick and didn't want to bring any illness to the room. So anyway, Scott and I are here, and we'll try to answer questions. But I won't turn this over to Scott to kind of explain the ordinance before you today, which is involves the sublease with our general obligation pledge. Scott.
Thank you. Just by way of background, when the Stadium Park Plaza, or then Hitzitz Plaza, was initially financed and constructed, it was done as a general obligation bond of the city. When that was redone in 2016, when we redid the bond for Manhattan Capital, it remained a general obligation of the city, but the county agreed to backstop so that ultimately any loss would pass to the county. There were lease agreements that were done involving the parking garage and Weldon Peak Park, which was the mechanism for there to be funding so that ultimately the lease payment on Weldon Peak Park would be whatever the city has to pay on the bond. The county would pay matching as a lease payment to get the money. So there was a funding mechanism that was approved by the State Department of Finance as part of this bond. What we're here to do today, this item and the next, is really just to readopt those documents, those agreements, substituting Manhattan Capital as the other party and inserting the Development Authority. So outwardly, to the bondholders and the bond trustee, this transaction will look the same. It will be funded the same way, basically from the rents and TIF money generated at Block 6, and the backstops from the city and county will remain the same should those ever be called upon. At this point, the way we got some new tenants lined up, I don't think that we'll see shortfalls that will be called upon, but it's there if necessary. Just so that you know, nobody, ultimately at the end, the developer was always going to get title to this project, but only if that developer repaid the city and county for any financial investment or loss in the project. So ultimately, there was never going to be a loss to us, and that remains in effect. So if there's any future shortfall that has to be paid through these documents, there's a mechanism in place for that to ultimately be repaid to the governmental entities. So All the heavy lifting, I think, was done either at fiscal court or an hour ago at the Development Authority. The Development Authority will become the landlord, technically a tenant under a lease. The county owns the RAP. It's going to lease it now to the Development Authority, which in turn will lease to the various tenants under subleases. But we will assume that role as the landlord. We're going to employ Sky Property Management to actually be the boots on the ground for the day-to-day management, make sure it's cleaned and maintained, but all under the direction and supervision of the Development Authority. It will be the entity responsible for seeing that rents are collected, bills are paid, and the tenants are taken care of and pleased with the facility. As we announced at our Development Authority meeting at the end of August, the state is putting in a new office building on the 3rd floor for the Office of the Attorney General. And from emails I got, I think they want to expand what they originally signed up for. But Pinnacle Bank, which is coming to town and looking to build 3 branches, is also going to rent space on the 3rd floor there for 3 years for its management team and loan officers. We're currently in negotiation with some other entities that may take as much as 15,000 square feet, which we hope we get to announce that by the end of the month. So despite this setback, which is driven through a large part through COVID and supply chain and lack of employees, we think it still looks bright there at the building. And having local individuals actually serving as the day-to-day managers, I think will help, won't hurt. Especially since they've got it invested, they're going to invest $22 million in building the apartments on the front side. They have every incentive to make sure that the RAP, the parking garage, and theirs as a whole project is a success.
We go to church with these folks, we shop with them, our kids play ball together, and they're local, and they're invested in downtown Bowling Green at such a high level already, and then another $22 million in that building. That just warms my heart to think that's who's going to oversee our investment. And can you speak at all? I know most of the questions that I've had over the last few days has been about the restaurants.
Well, most of what I know is probably what everybody else knows. It's secondhand. That has been, I know there have been some discussions among the business people who are not, but the Development Authority has not been part of that transaction. It is, as of today, my understanding that Mariah's, which apparently has been closed for at least 2 weeks, will remain closed, and I think the same as 643. So instead of having the sign that we're closed today because of lack of staff, I think it'll now become a more permanent
So there
sign.
could be an opportunity for
Yeah,
somebody to come in.
I'm
and-
confident and know that our new managers are looking for somebody else to put in there, particularly the 643 spot. I think it's what they consider the most attractive.
Any
Certainly would
restaurant
like to get some retail in there because
Be great.
the retail generates sales tax, which is part of the TIF income that comes back to us. So would love to see retail establishments in there. Yes.
So what I hear you saying is anybody out there that's actually listening to this or comes across this and they have restaurant experience and are interested,
All Sky Property
Call
Management.
Sky
I'm sure,
Property
yeah, I'm sure they'll
Management.
be glad.
great.
Starbucks is under previous management with Cats Off. Is that severing all ties with, sort of Cats Off, is he severing all ties with Pinchuk? And is that resolved?
Yeah, with Pinchuk, Dave, that's my understanding. I don't think David was involved with the management of Starbucks. He was manager at 643 and Mariah's. I've not talked to David, but I assume he's making plans to return home.
It's my understanding that it's Jerry Katzoff's son that has the Starbucks.
But that's true, it's Stewart. That is the owner of that business. But as far as David Pinchuk, I did not think he was involved in the Starbucks, but that was through a separate entity from Manhattan Capital. There's no It's common ownership, but not the same corporate entity.
That was my question. Open for more comments, questions this time? All right, we have none. We will go ahead and do a roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. Municipal order number 2022-201.
Municipal order authorizing and approving amended and restated Weldon Pete Park ground lease agreement with the Warren County Downtown Economic Development Authority, Inc., and amended and restated contract and lease agreement with the County of Warren related to the WKU Gateway to Downtown Bowling Green TIF development area.
So moved.
Second.
By Commissioner Perigin, second by Commissioner Beasley Brown. Mr. Mizel.
This is the mechanism for the backstop protection for the city with the Weldon Pete Park lease to make it official document, whereas if there is a shortfall, we would be reimbursed if we were ever required to make any payments. This is exactly like it was set up in 2016, only with just a renewal with the same parties.
Questions, comments from? This time, roll call, please.
Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Alcott.
Yes. This is all of our agenda items for tonight. We'll meet next Tuesday for a regular session at 4:30 PM, and we are adjourned. Do we need, oh, we're good.